All right. What is up, guys? What is up? What is up? Welcome to Warriors Way Home podcast. Going live today on this beautiful Friday. Um, I'm Travis, here with my co host, Edmund. What up, Ed?
What's going on, people? How we doing?
And hope you guys are doing well, man. Hope you guys are doing better than good, better than great. Been fighting your fight, having a great week, and win and conquer today. So we're tapping into today on this live call. Today we are discussing the delusions of entrepreneurship,
Yes,
why
sir.
you will fail, and but why we're doing it anyway.
Absolutely, man. This is not a game for everybody. You know what I mean?
Nah.
And it takes a while to get used to the idea of trying to own your own business. I think, at least from my perspective, I think we have really good viewpoints on this because you've been an entrepreneur for so long, having multiple businesses, starting to get into, what is it like to really work for yourself? Whereas for me, the closest I ever got to that was like freelancing, just kind of
Mhm.
giving out my skill set for not a quick buck, but, just trying to maintain relationships, working relationships, but being a one-off type of thing if it needed to be, instead of establishing something that could be long standing, something that could stand the test of time kind of thing. So I think
Definitely,
definitely be a good conversation today.
definitely, man. There are I tell people who want to get into this, man, that there are a lot better ways to a lot easy. I'll put it this way: a lot easier ways to make money than becoming an entrepreneur and running your own business.
Facts.
A lot of people, I think, they see it from um, the after effect. They see, the guy on the boat with with the money and the car and the girl and all this good stuff, but they and flying all over the world and having properties and all these different things. Like, I think they see that piece of it and they're like, oh, well, that's what entrepreneurship is. Like, no, bro,
Hmm.
no, 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 no. That's what entrepreneurship can get you.
Right.
But the shit you had to do to get there, that's the thing. That's the thing that a lot of people don't think about. They don't think about the putting together a program, even what it takes to start a business and fund it for yourself, and um, not just the money, but the amount of time. Oh my Oh my goodness, the
Sounds
amount of
sounds like you're
time,
feeling it.
the amount of well, I mean, people don't. That's the thing people don't get, man. They don't get the amount of time that you have to put into to do what we do. Like, you and I met earlier today, and
Yeah,
we're sitting here again.
mm,
It's just
that's
like
true.
we've already met for an
We
hour
had
and a
a
half, 2 hour meeting this
No, no, no,
morning.
no, no. So that was a 3-hour meeting this morning.
Okay, we had a 3 hour
Yeah,
meeting this morning.
and they're getting longer. I've noticed. It used to be an hour, and I was pushing it like 8 o'clock on a morning, Friday morning. But now it's like sometimes we'll just sit there for 3 hours just talking about different business stuff,
Mhm.
ideas that we want to do, catching up on things that we've missed, going over action items for the previous week, and like that's every week, bro. Like
Yeah,
we already have jobs,
yeah.
and we're still meeting on
Mhm.
an extra day or when we have time to be able to go through, you know, building up a business from scratch. It's definitely a lot of time invested.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And part of that sometimes is bullshit and us just sitting there talking and going over stuff that just
Hmm.
life stuff and different things. Sometimes,
True, true.
sometimes it's just straight all business. And this meeting was pretty much all business. This
Yeah,
meeting, because we got a
for
few
sure.
things coming up that we want to do, that we got planned for this month and everything like that, and we had to go over it. And it was one of those things we thought we got through everything. Oh, wait, we got to go over this. We got to go back. We got to go over this too.
Right,
And people
right.
don't see that part of it, man. People don't see that part of the things where it's like how much time and effort you got to put into this. Um, even to the amount of setting proper expectations. Like, let's start this way.
Hmm.
Um, what is your experience? How has your experience been? Because I think you have a unique perspective on this. A lot of people are going to have that same perspective of, wanting to start a business and maybe haven't had um, any kind of
Experience.
experience with it before. Or,
Yeah.
I mean, getting into it with me, and I know how crazy I am. Um, you had no idea what you're getting into when
Yeah.
you got into this. But
That's
what's your experience been like so far, starting this thing up from scratch?
okay. So I was thinking about that right before we hit record too.
Hmm.
My experience, man, I've always had a job, just a job. You know what I mean? I've
Hmm.
always been useful within whatever company I was a part of. Always wanted to move around and do different things. This was totally new, but the only bridge that I had between just working and trying to kind of like move up in whatever job I had versus starting something from scratch, I was freelancing. I was doing media, multimedia, making graphic designs, making videos, using music for stuff. I
Mhm.
was able to kind of barter with people because I would go into a business. Mostly it was through training. If I wanted to work out at a gym, but I didn't necessarily have the month to month payment for it or whatever, I'd be like, hey, let me make a commercial for you. Let me use my services, and that way I can drive in more business so that my potential payment didn't matter as much. And that
Mhm.
worked out for me for like 3 different gyms that I worked out at and trained at. So, and also I did like weddings and photography and a little bit of social media marketing for one of my college programs. So I had experience using my skill set to get money or to barter, but I had never built something from scratch. So
Mhm.
now that we've done the YouTube channel, we've put together a course. We have a community now. You know, all of this has been like what 2.5 years overall.
Yeah, about 2 years. Is it two and a
Yeah,
half?
it's been
2 years, I
it's been
think.
over 2 years for sure,
Yeah.
and that's
Mhm.
just since we met.
Mhm.
Because we actually, we started doing a business after knowing each other only for a couple of months.
Mhm.
So trying to get used to a totally new individual as well as try to start a business, you learn a lot about yourself. You learn quickly, do you actually want to do this thing? Are you just looking to funnel your skill set into something that could make you money short term or long term? If you're looking for the short term, building a business from scratch may not be the best thing to do. But if you want to go long term, you
Yeah.
just need to make sure that you have a lot of structure in place so that you can figure out, like, is this thing really going to be viable? And that was something that you had taught me, was the thing that you're trying to build requires a lot of framework. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's your
Mhm.
role? What's my role? How does money get handled? How much investment can you afford to put into it week to week or month to month? How much time do you really have versus the job that you currently have? Do you have a family, or do you have, other dependents, or whatever the case may be? It's like,
Mhm.
do you have time to build a business on top of that? And like, I used to listen to a lot of like Gary Vee, or, people who were in social media marketing or something that says, try to do something outside of your regular 9 to 5.
Yeah.
But the average person does not have time for that, for like 100%, because they're already tired just from trying to make it. So then how much extra time are you going to carve out of your non-existent schedule to try to build something long term, and understanding that, like, from my perspective, it takes at least 5 years to make
Mhm.
anything like of real value,
Yeah.
and then scale that into a business at least. And that's really cutting that, like what is that 10 years
Mhm.
overall in half, because we have the internet, we have social media, and people who are like, that's their job, is to teach you how to do what they did in that same amount of time. Nobody ever says it's like less than 5 to 10 years. You can do
Yeah.
some get rich quick stuff if it works, if and that's a really big if, or you can just do the hard thing, which also gives you the longest lasting impression, I think.
Mhm.
So that's kind of my experience now, with being 2 years in. Like, it's worth it because it's very easy to, it's not easy, but it's manageable to build a platform. But then monetizing that platform, I think, is like the next step, is where we're at now.
Yeah. For sure. For sure. And what you talked about, a lot of people don't talk about. I think a lot of people mix up side hustle with entrepreneurship or business.
Hmm.
They're not the same thing.
No.
There's the side hustle, there's entrepreneurship, and then there's business. And a
Hmm.
lot of people think just, oh, business is just if I buy something at the yard sale and I flip it and then I'm in business. No, bro, no, that is a side hustle,
Made a quick
homie.
buck, like.
That is a side hustle. It's
Right.
like, side hustle. So um, I think a lot of people, and I even made those, kind of things like, oh yeah, I'm an entrepreneur. It's like, nah, bro, you're a hustler.
Hmm.
At times, it's like I've done a lot of hustling. Have I
I'm a
been an
hustler,
entrepreneur?
baby.
I know, right? I know. I was thinking that same song popped in my head too. Just want you to know. But
No,
where
for
I'm
sure.
about to go with this is,
Right. Hey, hey, I see what you're doing there.
hey, you like how I did that? You like how I did that? Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's the hustle, there's the entrepreneurship, and then there's the business. The hustle is the thing that you do, like, um, retail arbitrage is what they call it. You go buy something at the store, like the Goodwill or thrift store or something like that, or a
Mhm.
yard sale, and you flip it online, whether it be marketplace or eBay or Amazon or whatever it may be, and you flip
Yeah.
that. That's great. That's a hustle, though. That's you can make some decent money doing hustles on the side, and there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that at all. But don't call it a business.
Yeah.
That's a whole different thing. For you to take a hustle and turn it into a business is a whole other monster in itself.
Hmm.
Um, then you have entrepreneurship, which is the people who want to start a business. That's more like self-employed though.
Yeah.
For instance, like
You built your
a
job.
doctor when they start their own their practice, or a massage therapist when they rent a room and start doing something like that. That's more on the entrepreneurship side. Entrepreneurship side tends to be more like self-employed type deal.
For sure.
Now people think it's like, oh, I'm in business. No, you're an entrepreneur. You're self-employed. Is it because the minute you stop, this whole thing stops running too?
Exactly.
If it can't run without you, you don't have a business.
Yeah.
That's the biggest lesson I've learned through these years of like trying this and trying then starting businesses and not working out and these different things like that. It's like if it can't run without you, bro, it's not a business.
Hmm. Yeah. There was
It's a job that you made for yourself.
there's a couple of different like side hustles that I did that definitely felt like if I gave it enough time, it could have taken off, but I
Mhm.
wasn't. I was trying to make like short term money.
Yeah.
One was, of course, like graphic design, videography, photography, and then voiceover work. And voiceover
Mhm.
work was the one where I was like, if I could have one extra person as like an editor,
Mhm.
because it does take a lot of time to like get the words right and make sure your speech pattern is good and have the same tone throughout the entire work that you're working through and stuff like that. But yeah, like you said, like once I stopped speaking, that's it.
Mhm.
Like there's no residuals that you get for that. It's just like a one-time payment type of thing.
Yeah.
Unless you establish building relationships, then you can tag people into that, or you can, build some off of that. But no, like making something where you can eventually walk away, but
Mhm.
you have to sink a lot of time into it.
Time
That's
or
the
money.
thing. It's the
Time
time.
or money.
Time is money, because it's really just
True.
energy. So like your time, money, and energy, which are all interchangeable, I think is the thing that like you have to siphon off of other stuff, whether it's going out or, having a relationship, or, maybe you're not eating that day, it's whatever that it is, like you're having to put a lot more of yourself into building your thing
Mhm.
versus helping somebody else with theirs.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, that's the biggest thing with it. Like we talk about that delusion because so much hustle porn out here, bro. So much hustle
Hustle
porn,
porn.
and
Wow.
and don't get me wrong, I feed into it too. That grind, yeah, push, is like, yeah, bro, that's great, that's
Yeah.
great. It's like, but what are you pushing for? Is like, and the thing they don't talk about is the fact that just because you push and you grind at something doesn't necessarily mean you're one grinding in the right direction.
True.
Is like because I've started I've like for instance where we started we met in the power circle, got to know each other, and from right off the bat it's like, bro, hey, before we even started the business it was like, hey, let's do a podcast. It's like, do we need to do this podcast.
Hmm.
um what was, to be honest, was I sure that that was going to turn into a business? I wasn't sure. I was like, well, well, the podcast and the YouTube channel. I
Right.
said maybe that'll turn into something. Let's see. And we started doing that and started working towards it. It took a while before we established our business at all. It was over a year
For sure.
before we were like, hey, okay, we're going to take this and we see we can work together.
Hmm.
We figure that piece out, doing the podcast and YouTube and everything like that. That seems like it's progressing. Okay, let's look at turning this into an actual business.
For
And
sure.
it was like I said, it was about a year before we even decided to do that.
Yeah, and it was a combination of getting used to each other. There's
Hmm.
this concept in Scrum, which is like one of the things that I'm practicing for work, is forming, storming, and norming. We
Hmm.
formed the relationship of, oh shit, we're in the same community and we're near each other. Let's link up and see what's like, if we can hang out or help each other out with something,
Hmm.
establish a friendship. um, that storming is you getting used to each other. It takes
Hmm.
time to even like, okay, this person might have this type of value. Might have these morals. Can I even, float with that? You get your
Yeah.
first argument. You start to really feel like, okay, what does this relationship consist of?
Hmm.
And then you have a baseline that you form over a certain amount of time where it's like, okay, this is the norm. When we
Hmm.
interact, this is typically the interaction type of thing. And that's for any relationship that you have. You can do that with dating,
Yeah.
but it's when you're forming a business or you're
Mhm.
trying to do a project together because we knew we had value between us. So we were like, okay, how do we bring this to different people and figure out like if this is even viable? That had started basically the same time as the friendship.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of things that you have to establish on so many levels, and like figuring out like just the paperwork for starting a business. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Figuring out how far you really want to take this thing from jump
Mhm.
is really as important as the friendship, I think. Like, what are the foundations of it?
Yeah. And that's, before we even dive into the paperwork part of things, man, oh shit.
The
Um,
least sexy part of building a business.
oh yeah, yeah. This man, it was oh man, yeah, it was a lot of it was just so exhilarating.
No wonder.
Um,
Yeah.
but the big piece is, and we're talking about a partnership. I had never been in a partnership before. Most of my stuff was me was doing stuff on
Same.
my own.
Yeah.
So, that had a whole nother dynamic to it, but when you're looking at actually getting into a business, you got to be first thing you got to realize is that, just to be real about it, most businesses fail.
Hmm.
9 out of 10 businesses fail, and I think I posted in here that 9 out of 10 businesses fails. At least 20%, 20 to 20, almost 25% fail within the first, I think it was first 2 years, first one to
Yeah.
2 years,
Yeah.
and then it goes up to 50% over the next 5.
Yeah.
So that 70, that 80% that didn't fail within those 2 years is like
Sorry.
the great majority of them will fail over
Yeah.
the next 5.
Yeah. For
Then
sure.
you're talking about 10. That's you're talking about a very small number, and that's not to get anybody down or anything like that. It's just one of those things you got to be aware of.
Yeah.
And
Numbers
one
don't lie.
thing, yeah, it's like, I can lie to you, you can lie to me, but let's not lie to each other. It's like that, and we talked about this. There's a good chance that this shit might not work out, bro. Is like we have to know that, we have to understand that, and it's like, okay, are we still willing to push even
Mhm.
knowing that?
Yeah.
Is like, that was one thing I had to ask myself is, what are you willing to sacrifice? Whenever I started a business, it was one of those things like, okay, you're going to have to sacrifice. What are you willing to sacrifice to do this thing? Because it's not going to be just a regular 9 to 5 where at 5 o'clock, it actually usually most people like 4:30, you start winding down and you see people like, they start moving towards the bathroom or going to get some coffee or whatever it may be,
Making them
to
weekend
get
plans.
that last 30 minutes, and the next, they've been in the bathroom for 20. It's
I've
just
been there.
like, yeah, a lot of people have. A
I've been
lot of
there.
people, I've done it. It's like
Like,
towards,
all right, I got
yeah,
3
it's
o'clock. I
like I
got two
got,
more hours. I'm
yeah,
gonna fuck
exactly.
around for 15 minutes, and 45 minutes that's all I got. And gotta make a couple
You know,
calls, and I'm good.
yeah. And most people, live their life. They just get used to living their life that way. They're like, I work from this time to this time, and once that clock hits that time, I'm done. That is not how business works.
No.
It is not. I'm sorry if you're starting up something from, especially from scratch. I don't care whether you buy a business or whatever it may be. Don't plan on having like treating it like a 9 to 5, because that's not going to work like that.
Yeah.
It's just not. It does not turn off. It
No.
does not turn off. Do you have to take breaks from it? Yes, but it does not turn off.
Hmm.
And a lot of people, I think, they associate um, owning a business with freedom. And we talked about it in the beginning. It's like that. Is like, does it give you freedom? Yes, but you got to work your ass off to get to the point where you actually have the freedom.
Freedom ain't
Okay, so
free.
yeah, exactly. It's not. You gotta work for it. It's gonna take blood, sweat, and tears, bro, for you to the point where you can actually live a life that other people can't live, to where you can go, go on vacation in the middle of the week, or take off for a full day and not worry about it, or end your day at noon, whatever
Hmm.
the hell it is that you see freedom as. You have
Yeah.
to work to that point, though. It's not one of those things that just comes because I'll put it this way: if you treat the business like a 9 to 5, you're gonna fail.
Hmm.
Undoubtedly, you can quote me on that shit. If you decide you want to start a business, or even think you want to start a business, and think you're gonna be working 9 to 5, you're bugging. You're bugging, and it's gonna fail, because if you treat it like that, you're gonna fail, bro.
Yeah.
It's just gonna happen. And
Yeah.
these are just the realities of the situation. We talk about, like I said, entrepreneurship it's a powerful thing. Starting a business is a huge, yes, it's a huge undertaking, but the benefits of it are amazing. because you're building something that can outlast you.
True.
It's like, but you got to treat it like that. You got to give it the respect it deserves.
Yeah.
You can't be treating it like a side chick.
It's
It's
just
gonna
like
be it's gonna be your wife.
it's like farming. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like nothing. Like you don't. What's that quote? Is you don't eat the fruit the same day you plant the seed.
Yeah.
But it takes a
Mhm.
lot of work, and we've even in farming and how we're building business now, there's so much technology out here that just makes it easier, but the
Yeah.
time commitment is the thing. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
it doesn't matter if you have the latest AI program or just the best rake that they've created so far. Like you're just using the best of what's available, but sinking your time into it,
Mhm.
learning the thing first, figuring out how you're going to use it, actually implementing your ideas, understanding that it's a process from building between like when you get the structure of it together and then you actually start to make a product and you have to market it and then make sure you got the right people that are you put it in front of the right people. They have to want it. They have to have the money to buy it. They have to have
Mhm.
some type of utility for it. There is so much that goes into it, man. But yeah, it's rewarding because like Myron Golden says, you make it one time and then it can just resell forever, especially in the digital space.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Ebooks and all that kind of stuff. Like there's so many different types of products that you can make. But first you have to realize or you have to recognize in yourself, do you even want to do that? Do you want to
Mhm.
sink the time into research and development and marketing and finding partnerships? Because I think one thing that people I think they kind of get wrong is like with entrepreneurship, it's not just about you. You're the only like you're if you're going about it solo, which we
Mhm.
both have experience with doing business solo. If you begin with the idea that it'll just always be you, you're also shooting yourself in the foot because you need to be able to collaborate with people, have mentorship, understand with what your competition is because it's not really competition as far as like people who are you're trying to do better than. It's just realizing if they have a really good blueprint, using that and then marketing to your own people because like I think the way everything is set up these days, it seems like competition, but everybody steals from everybody else. So you just kind of find the best people who are doing something similar to you. Okay, they market this way. Maybe I don't like their tactics or whatever. Like we talked about what was it, Xfinity or somebody you had a phone bill issue, and you were like, why don't they just do what's best for for the customer? If you had a phone business, you would probably do it
Mhm.
differently. But if they had
Uh,
something that you could use, then you could use that thing. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of stealing from the best, I guess.
yeah. Yeah. And it's like I said, man, it's a process, and it's one of those things that I don't think gets really shown like behind the scenes enough. That's why we're actually having this conversation. Is because so many, especially so many guys talk about entrepreneurship and these different things like that, and realizing like, hey, bro, this isn't this. I'm not gonna. I was about to say this isn't to discourage you. No, this is to discourage you. This is absolutely to discourage some of you, because a lot of guys who start businesses, you're just wasting your damn time doing it.
Mm,
Because if you don't really want it and you're not really about that life, that if you think it's like all the Instagram stuff, then you're probably wasting your time.
mm,
But if you're willing to put the effort and the work that goes into this, man, you get so much out of it, bro. Yes, but you have to know what you're getting into, and that's the biggest thing. I wish I I did so much research in starting my businesses of what I thought I was getting into, and still didn't know what the hell I was doing getting into it. There was still stuff that came where I was like, I had no idea this was even a thing. There was nobody holding my hand or showing me like, hey, let me move the curtain and show you it looks beautiful out here, but let me show you the destruction that's going on. See that's on fire. That cat's on fire every week. That thing, that thing, it never stays in place. One minute's here, the next minute's over there. I don't even know what the fuck that is. I got
right.
something, but I don't remember what it was for.
Yeah.
And that's the reality. It's kind of like Wizard of Oz, where you take the curtain back and you see the little guy on the microphone.
Right.
Like this
Yeah.
is the reality of the situation.
Because
It
it's
looks
not
all
sexy.
beautiful here, but it's
Yeah.
like this is what it really looks like, and it's one of those things that a lot of people don't really talk about.
Hmm.
And with so the first step is really taking account of yourself. Is like, are you really willing to put the work in and the effort it takes to do that?
Right.
Because like you said, it's not going to be one of those things that you're going to start this and be successful tomorrow, or
Yeah.
start this and be successful next week. You might not see anything from this for years. Now, if you do and you get lucky first shot, bro, power to you.
Hmm.
But that's the exception, not the rule.
Right. Absolutely.
You know.
There's there is ah I'm losing it. Sorry. Um, oh, so like it's not attractive to put out there the work that it really takes because it's better. It's kind of like a carrot and a stick situation. Like the
Yeah.
carrot is freedom, financial security, having some type of legacy that you're trying to leave behind, have a bunch of
Hmm.
products that you can sell, being able to take the vacations and the fancy dinners and all that stuff. But I mean, there's lots of ways to make money. There's every way to make money, but you don't get the telling people that they're going to be losing sleep. They might be upside down on some bills. They might go
Yep.
hungry, whatever. I think the thing that kind of keeps you going after a while is just the engagement that you get from even doing something. You know what I mean? Like I think I told
Hmm.
some guys in the circle before, like when it comes to the reward you feel for doing the stuff that you're doing
Hmm.
is just the fact that you might have helped somebody, even if you don't get like a monetary value of it up front. You're building like that social currency. You're building a place where people can come to find you or find answers, and through a unique perspective. But there's no you can't eat that. You
Yeah.
can't. You're nothing. That's not going to pay your bills. That kind of thing. So that's why it's
Hmm.
better to like. I know a lot of people now are saying it is better to have a 9 to 5, and
Oh.
then do
Oh
something
yeah.
on the side. Like I can
Hmm.
definitely speak to that. Where yeah, it sucks because you're siphoning time that you could be spending doing something else, chilling or you know drifting, I guess. But understanding that that effort is going towards something of value, even if you don't make a dollar from it. A lot of the best books talk about that as well. Like do it for the love of it. Don't do it because you're trying to get rich or make $1 million. Like that'll be the after effect of it, which you may
Hmm.
or may not hit that. And that's
Yeah.
that is what it is. But if you can just pay a bill with the fact that you're trying to help somebody. Maybe you just have a dumb shirt that says "Hang in there" with the cat on the branch or something, but that helps somebody for whatever reason. I mean, it's silly, but yeah, like they keep
Yeah.
making that shirt, so and because people keep buying it, so if people are willing to spend $12 on that a couple of times, then you pay a bill off. Like, okay, well, you helped somebody, you made somebody laugh, and you got a little something out of it. Cool. But the long term effect, how much are you willing to do that so that maybe it has a bigger payoff in the end? I
Yeah.
think is the thing. But you
Well,
can't you
it's
can't start there.
yeah. Well, they say what was that saying? They everybody loves sausages, but they don't people don't want to know how it's made.
Hmm.
It's like, and the what you said is key, man. It's like having. I would not suggest a guy quit his 9 to 5 to start a business. I would
Hmm.
not. I would not suggest that. I would definitely suggest starting it on starting on the side and building it up as you work your 9 to 5 and you work your 5 to 9.
Hmm.
You know, is that you do it like that. That's a
Sometimes
much,
it's a 12 to 6,
and
to
this is true.
midnight to 6 a.m.
This is true. You get in where you can fit in.
Right.
It's like but I definitely wouldn't suggest somebody just up and quitting their job and be like, I'm just gonna go live my dream. And it's like, you're gonna bust your head. It's like
Right.
that's gonna be rough for you. I could tell you that from personal experience. Is like having quit and I'm gonna go quit and start this business and da da da. It's like, well, how are you gonna do it? It's like, I don't know. Do you have any money? No. It's just like,
Nothing can
do
go
you have
wrong.
do you have any resources? Oh no, I knew I knew it could go wrong. I knew it could go wrong. It's just I was one of those things that I and knowing how much risk you're willing to take. That's the other thing too. Is like because if you and we I think we talked about this in a conversation with Soul. Is like me starting the stuff I've started. No wife, no kids. I was like, oh, I can just blow my fucking life up. Is
Right.
yes, I can risk this and not making any money for the next 6 months and be okay. Is I can risk that. Is like, is it the smart way of doing things? I wouldn't suggest that.
Hmm.
But it's one of those things that I know myself well enough to know that how much I'm going to put into this, that it's probably not going to take 6 months for me to get where I want to be. I'm
Right.
probably going to cut that time in half because I'm going to put if I'm not working or doing something else, I'm going to be putting everything I have into this thing. But that's me knowing me.
Hmm.
That's me knowing me. I wouldn't suggest somebody else do that, especially if you're going to treat, like I said, your business like a 9 to 5. I didn't treat it like I treated it like this is my primary, my only thing, da 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 da. This is the air I breathe. The you
It's
know,
locking in.
I
Yeah.
eat this, I live this. I'm completely locked in. Everything else is a fucking distraction.
Right.
And that's the way I rolled about it. So that because I was able to do that, I was like, yeah, I can quit my job and do this thing. Like I said, still looking back, I probably would tell myself, hey, bro, don't do that. Don't do it like that. It's
Right.
just like, so keeping your 9 to 5 while you start up your business, or even start building up building it up.
Yeah.
Figure out what you want to do, how you want to do it. Start doing your research into it. Start before you even start kicking off. Be like, I'm gonna, I have a business now. No, do you research into it, figure it out. Start making, figuring out what is, if it's a solid product. Okay, what does it take for me to get this product? How much does it cost? Where do I source it from? Who has done this before that I can, kind of really start looking at their stuff and start,
Mhm.
figuring out the pitfalls to this thing. It's
Right.
like, how do I start doing the thing I want to do to work and work your job until you work yourself out of a job.
Right.
So you keep going until the point where, and the last time I did this with the um
Convergence.
when I had the offices and everything
Yeah.
like that, I was working at a massage studio, and I
Yeah.
worked that until it started costing me too much money to be at that 9 to 5, because I was making more doing my own thing. So I was like, okay, this is actually costing me money to be here. I
Hmm.
can't do this anymore. Now I've worked myself out of a job.
Right.
That's what I mean by that. It's like, so work that until you get to the point where you can work yourself out of a job. It's costing me too much to sit here and look at you guys' faces. It's like I'm losing money looking at you people. I
Right.
already don't like you. Now you're costing me money.
Right.
It's
A lot of people feel that way too. A lot of people
Mhm.
feel that way without the extra income,
Yeah.
without the side hustle or the small business that they might be trying to make or whatever. It's like they already feel like, I don't like the people that I'm around. I hate my
Mhm.
boss. Whatever, whatever. Like, not everybody's lucky enough to get their quote unquote dream job.
Yeah.
And even people who get their dream job still can quit and do something else.
Mhm.
I've had several conversations with folks who just kind of don't wrap their brains around the fact that um, you can have fulfilled a certain piece of yourself and
Mhm.
then move on to something else. They think that has to be the end all be all. I
Yeah.
can't tell you how many conversations I've had where it's like, I'm going to do this for like 10, 20 years, but they already hate it 6 months in. Why?
Yeah,
Why would you stay?
for
Why would you
sure.
do that? I've job hopped so much. I wouldn't stay at a job for about more than 2 years average.
Mhm.
And luckily you're able to do that nowadays, where it's like, okay, you're gaining experience in different things. If you're able to keep moving up while you're doing it, then that's great.
Yeah.
But understand that it takes education, it takes you know volunteering for certain stuff. There's ways to get money or save money without having to do a second job. You can do the side hustle thing and then just invest that cash or flip it or keep flipping stuff for a little while, just until you can get the thing that you need. But you need to find out what is it that your ultimate goal is when you do that. If you're just trying to pay off a bill, okay, don't put so much stress on yourself. If you're trying to like have generational wealth, you need to think about that a little bit differently. You know what I mean? If you're trying to like you said, work yourself out of a job, then of course it's going to take that much more time. But I think the first thing is to like scale what your overall goal is. I mean, if it's not the impact of the people that you're trying to help with your business, and it's
Yeah.
just the things that you're trying to pay for out with that, then that's two different approaches you need to have.
Mhm.
But it's definitely like, if you're just trying to save yourself versus if you're trying to actually like help people in the world, I think.
Yeah. And it's one of those things, man, that give me 1 sec, want to check, make sure we're good here with our audio and everything.
Yeah.
Yep, we're good. Cool. Sweet. But yeah, it's it becomes one of those things where, like I said, figuring out why you're doing the thing, and then kind of going from there, because it's one of those things where once you know where you want to go, you can reverse engineer the rest of it.
Exactly.
Once I realized, okay, how big, well, you gotta ask yourself and realistic questions. How big do I want? If I want to start a business, do I just want to do the side hustle? and just make some extra cash on the side. I'm cool with, my life kind of where it is right now and everything like that. And it's just, if I could bring in an extra $200 a month, that'd be great. Excuse the dogs out there. They are rampaging. Those are not
Sorry.
mine.
Yeah. No worries.
But, so is it just that thing, or is it one of those things where I've learned to do the thing that I went to school for, or that I'm doing now. Maybe you're working for somebody else doing the thing. You're like, hey, I really want to expand and do my own thing. I could do this for myself. And that's great, to set yourself up like that, like chiropractors, or like I said, massage therapists. A lot of doctors do that sort of thing, where they may have some staff around them, but it's mostly them, like, I want to be in control of my environment.
Yeah.
So, that's more of that self-employed status. It's like, yeah, do I run a business? Yes, but I'm more built a job um, for myself in this thing, and that's the way they kind of build their life and set their life up. You also have it to where from there, okay, I want to build. Maybe I started to do the self-employed thing and started the entrepreneurship thing, and I built that up to a certain level, and realizing that I really want to take this farther. I want to be able to duplicate myself, and whether it be a doctor, maybe I want to hire on more doctors, and eventually turn this into a clinic or a hospital, to where I don't have to see everybody, or I can't see everybody. Sometimes you work yourself into a situation where, like, I have so many people seeking my services that I can't handle it all myself. So then you start thinking, like, okay, I want to hire on other people to do some of this, to do the work on the side when I'm not here, to where I can start working on the business and not just working in the business. Or it's one of those things where, if you're a digital, you're building something like that, I want to build this to a certain level to where it can keep going and I can step away from it at a certain point. So it all depends on what you want to do and how big you want to go, because not everybody wants to run a business, a business with, 10 employees, or making so much money, or whatever it may be, because all the effort that goes into it, the taxes, the dealing with employees, the dealing with, a bunch of customers or anything like that. So you got to think about, realistically, how big do you want to make this thing? Then once you figure that out, start reverse engineering from there. If you want to build a franchise, you want 100 McDonald's franchises or whatever it may be, okay, start from there and start reverse engineering what who you want to be. Okay, who do you need to be to get to the point where you can run a business that size? Like we talked about at the beginning of this year. It's like, okay, so this is what we want to do with the business. What do we not know now, and what do we need to learn to grow the business to the point where we want to take it? Is like, what do we need to learn about entrepreneurship? What do we need to learn about leadership? What do we need to learn about accounting? Do we need to learn accounting? So it's one of those things where you start asking questions. I'm sure I'll be back in a minute. About how far do you want to go? It's like, so, and what do you need to know along the way? So if you want to expand the business part of it, because a lot of people are really good at a specific thing, operating, in that area, whether it be, like I said, if it's a chiropractor, they know a lot about chiropractic. If it's a personal trainer, they know a lot about training people and these different things like that. But do you know how to run a business? If you don't, and you want to grow it, you need to start learning some of these things, start picking some of these things up, or start looking at, in the future, hiring some people to do some of these things. But I would highly suggest, if you're starting from on your own, to start to figure out how that works for yourself. It's like, okay, I hate accounting. I absolutely, it's not my jam. It's not my thing. Can I do it? Yes. Am I probably going to jack some stuff up? Probably. It's like, but at the same time, it's one of those things that me knowing, I have to know a little bit enough about accounting to know if somebody's jacking my accounting up. Okay. So it's not one of those things that you can just go hands off with a lot of times. So know enough about it to know what you need to know in that portion of the business, whether it be, like I said, accounting, about leadership, about whatever function. If you have a brick and mortar, how do you operate your business? How do you do sales and marketing and these different things like that? If you're one is do the digital space, it's like, okay, learn about the different platforms, how to use the platforms that you're talking about. How do you actually do those things? And start to learn enough about the business to where you can actually, let's see here. start to learn enough about the business to where you can actually function and actually do those things that you need done to a certain level. Like I said, you don't need to be an expert at it, but start to learn it. That's how you start to reverse engineer. It's like, okay, this is where I want to go. Who do I need to become? What man do I need to become to be able to do the things that I want to do with my life? Just like with anything, it's not just about reverse engineering in business. We're talking about in relationships, in self mastery, any of these areas. We're talking about in those areas as well. Figuring out and reverse engineering your life. So that's a big thing when it comes to doing some of these things. All right, we got you.
My
So yeah,
computer decided to do an update while I was in the middle of talking, so sorry.
and pivoting. That's
And
another thing in business. Being able to pivot.
for sure, for
It's
sure,
like,
man.
you
Apologies.
know, if you're gonna learn how to do business, especially face to face and different things like that, dude, you better learn how to bullshit. It's like if his stuff started going, I was like, oh, I just need to talk then. Okay, boom,
Right,
boom, 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 boom.
right.
That's sales. That
Okay.
is sales. Because dude, I've literally had stuff where I've been, sitting there talking to somebody and doing a sale, and literally had somebody like either walk in the room or had like something crazy going, something crashed, and you hear somebody screaming in the background, and talking about at the gym, and they're looking at me, and I'm like, yeah. So anyway, we won't put you on that machine because that machine's broken now, obviously. So anyway,
Right,
what we're gonna do,
right,
and you can see their face like, did somebody just die? It's like, probably not. It's like there probably won't be a body when we walk out the door, but if there is, it wasn't me because I've been in here with you the whole time. So
right,
that wasn't one of my clients.
right, right.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
sometimes you got to be able to pivot and just roll with it, and we've had to do that. We've had to pivot on our stuff, where it's one of those, we have a certain plan lined out, and then we start getting into it and figuring out like, like just to be upfront, we just decided to shut down the Warbound community that we had, the free community that we had, because it ended up being one of those things where, okay, we're putting our attention in these areas, but where are we best suited to put our energy towards?
right,
Towards keeping the course going, and making it as best as we can, putting it out to people.
right,
We already had a community called the Legion, and what we're putting into that, and the amount of effort and time we're having to put into that community, we already put that in there.
right.
Uh,
And
do you
it's
have do you have headphones with you by chance?
uh, yeah. Give me 1 sec. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Just got a bit of an echo going.
I'm also waiting for my. It's about done with the update, so I can hop back in my normal thing here in a sec.
Gotcha.
But um, but yeah. So being able to pivot for one and understanding your technology, making sure that you understand the tools that you're trying to use, just kind of from jump,
Hmm.
because if you just kind of get into building something and you don't understand your tools, you're just gonna not make anything but a mess. You're not gonna be able to maneuver around the issues that you come against, like technology issues or not understanding your audience, not understanding the real type of product that you're like. When you come up with a product, it's not just a t-shirt with a funny saying on it. If you're
Hmm.
building, especially there's a lot of people who say build a course.
Hmm.
Okay, well, how do I do that? And they just say, oh, well, you can monetize the knowledge that you've accumulated over such and such time, but if you've never taught before, then you might
Yeah.
not be the best person who can make a course. You have to
Hmm.
have the experience of like, okay, how do I bring this down to, and this is not derogatory to anybody, but like a fifth grade level,
Hmm.
because not everybody is going to be able to understand what you got out of your college courses and apply it to their real life. You need to be able to break it down so that everybody understands it, and it's something that's viable for a broader audience, because that's how you're gonna be able to get your business together. You're not
Hmm.
gonna just rely on one person to buy everything that you've ever made. You need to diversify like the things that you're creating to a wide enough audience so that even if they buy one thing from you several times, then it's sustainable. But not everybody is going to want the same product. Not everybody buys the same color of the same shirt.
Hmm.
So why would you think that anything that you make is going to be a one size fits all?
Yeah. Yep. And that's a big part of the research piece of it. Is, like I said, is this a good fit for you anyway? Um, because like so, and you and I have had that conversation about Yeah, he'll be back in a minute. Yeah, it's like Eben and I have had that conversation about who's our audience, who are we talking to, who are the people who need what we have to serve, because it does, it's like us getting on here and talking to the wrong person is like for an hour won't mean anything. Is like what do we have that people actually need?
Right.
Not this sounds good to you and everything like that, because if you're selling steaks, in a certain neighborhood, but you don't realize that the neighborhood you're in is they're all vegetarians, then you're in the wrong neighborhood. You're
Right.
talking to the wrong people. It doesn't matter how many doors you knock or how impressive you are with your sales.
Right.
They're vegetarians. You're trying to sell them steak.
Yeah. It's not
It's
even like
like
cauliflower steak. It's like USDA beef.
it's like
There ain't no
you're
way
in the
they can
wrong
even
you're
do
in
it
the
that
wrong
way.
place, bro. It's like you're in
Right.
the wrong place, talking to the wrong
And
people. It's like
doing just a little bit of research could
mhm.
mean that you're just one street over from having the right people. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Where everybody on the block will buy your stuff.
Hmm.
I remember the best example of this I've ever been a part of was I used to sell Kirby vacuums. The closest
Hmm.
thing I ever got to entrepreneurship was selling $2,000 vacuums as best I could in the middle of winter. Terrible decision. So we roll through this one neighborhood. We're looking on the map on like the GPS, and we couldn't find anybody. We couldn't find like a residency. But when we went into the neighborhood, like this empty lot looking thing, it was how like brand new houses and all this kind of stuff. Everybody had like what was it, the Chevy Avalanche, like the big truck. Like everybody had the
Hmm.
same truck. So we're thinking, oh, okay, people in here got money. We're gonna be able to do whatever. Like it's cool. We're gonna sell out. We toured through that neighborhood for 3 days and didn't sell nothing. We sold no, man. I couldn't. So we keep coming back, keep coming back. Just we scaled the whole neighborhood, and then my buddy who I'm with, my partner who I'm doing the sales with, he was like, I said, man, why we can't sell anything? Like nobody wants to buy anything. They just want us to clean their house because you get like a little demo at that time.
Hmm.
And he looked at the map again, and he said, bruh, these are all new constructions, and it's next to like a military setup. But it was like their version of Section 8
Yeah.
because it was just brand new housing. Whole families have moved in, and everybody's got their car payment is more expensive than their rent because like, that's why everybody has these big old trucks and all this stuff. And I was like,
Hmm.
oh, they're actually broke.
Yeah. Yep.
And we spent
Hmm.
like 3 whole days there, but it was like the weekend. But it was really good to understand, like, no matter how hard you try, if you're not talking to the right person, that effort is meaningless. So you
Yeah.
you got to do the research to figure out who your audience is, who are you trying to talk to, because if you're talking to everybody, you're talking to nobody.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
You can't pull blood from a stone.
exactly. A middle-aged housewife doesn't have the same issues as the single bachelor, 24, who's rooming with like two or three of his buddies. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So like they're not the same person.
Yeah.
So you need to figure out what your ideal customer looks like, and that involves research, and it's really just about like catering the thing that you really want to do to the people who like that thing. It's not as complicated as it might seem, but sometimes you can come up with a product that does help both people if it's like a vacuum or a dishwasher or whatever. But figuring out who that person is first will get you way further than trying to talk to or appease everybody. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Definitely. 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 And looks like we got another comment here. Let's check this out. World.
Yeah.
Can't hear anything. Really?
Well, that was I put that in the StreamYard chat, and I was like, I can't. I don't know what's going on.
Oh man, that's
But
funny.
yeah, that's all right.
Anyway,
That's my
so
bad.
yeah, but on another thing, man, is like I said, knowing your audience, but also knowing yourself. And one big way we teach and we talk about knowing yourself is the 8 inner gates. We're going to take a quick commercial break here, just for a second, talk a little bit more about the 8 inner gates and basically how to become that 2.0 version of yourself, so that when you do decide to start a business or get into start a side hustle or start become an entrepreneur or get into a business, whatever it may be, that you're better prepared because you have a great foundation in yourself, to where you're more likely to be successful when you start that business. So we're going to hop into that real quick, and we'll be back in just a second. Hey guys, quick interruption to the episode. Let me tell you about the 8 Inner Gates, our personal growth and self-mastery course that's been showing men just like you how to get unstuck and take their life, relationships, career, or even business to the next level. The same principles that have helped us to find purpose, overcome depression, command respect, dominate in our careers, and become honorable men, we're now sharing with our brothers. So if you want more of this life, you know you're capable of achieving more of this life, and you're tired of just drifting through it, click down in the description of the episode or in the pinned comment and gain access to the first 2 lessons in the course, completely free on us. Click now and begin unlocking the gates blocking your success. Yeah, man. So, personal development is definitely key with what we're doing. And like I said, knowing your audience, you absolutely have to know your audience, because otherwise you're just out here howling in the wind most of the time.
Right.
So realizing, there's those key steps, like I said, taking account of who you are and realizing what you're willing to put into this. Is it something that you actually even really want to do? When you start really diving into what it's going to take to, become an entrepreneur, start the business, or different things like that. And it's not for everybody. There's no shade if this isn't for you. It's better for you to know that now and be like, that's not what I want to do, so you can put your effort and energy into something else than to start this thing and realize 2 years down the line that, like, man, I really should have never started this. This isn't what I want in life, and it's really not what I enjoy doing. Because a lot of people enjoy doing the work, but they don't enjoy, the other pieces of it. It's like sitting there talking to somebody or doing whatever you're doing for work. They enjoy the work, so they think I need to start a business because I enjoy the work. Right. Do not do yourself like that. If you enjoy the business, enjoy the work, then do the work. You don't need to start a business to enjoy what you do. And there's always going to be people who are needed in, different businesses to, help them build, better processes, or to improve this, or to become the best version of this. There are always going to be people. If you become the best version of that thing that you do, you will always have somebody knock on your door, no matter where you are, be like, hey, I need you, hey man, I want to steal you from this. I see you're the best. You are the best at what you do. I need you on my team, and are willing to pay you what you're worth, rather than you trying to go out and build something and do the thing that you wanted to do. It's like, because the chances are when you start that business, you're not going to be doing as much of the thing you say you love doing. You're going to be doing a lot of the other bullshit that comes with that. And that's just the reality of it, man. So it's one of those things you got to figure out what your role is in this, in the thing.
2 seconds. I'm so sorry. Technical difficulties here.
Yep. So, it's just about, figuring that piece out. So that's the first step, is really taking a look and being real and honest about, what you want to do. Where do you want to go? And from there, starting to build out your plan. It's like, okay, if my ultimate goal is to, like I said, just make, bring in this much extra money. Okay, can I just go from where I'm at in my career and maybe work for a different company and actually make that money? Or can I do something on the side that I enjoy doing and also bring in that extra income? Or do I'm so passionate about this, I really want to build this up and create something to where this is what I do. And it's mine, and I can build it up, and I can hire people on that are really good at what they do, and I can start doing those things and start looking at that. That's the biggest thing, is that first piece is figuring out where you want to be, mapping that out. What is your roadmap? And from there, reverse engineering from there. Okay, I know ultimately where I want to be, and start to reverse engineer that and figure out, who do I need to become to get there? What do I need to know over the next 6 months? What I need to learn over the next year about this business? Even if it takes you a year to start it up, but at the end of that year, you can start it up and jump ahead of people who just, I decided yesterday to start this thing, and I started this thing, but they did no research, didn't do any, didn't learn about the in and out about the business, about the history of the business, even in massage. It's funny, in massage, they showed us that, like, even in doing massage, you doing massage for yourself, what's the history of the business? What do you know about it? Where did it come from? What did it stem from?
Right.
If you actually passionate about what you say you're passionate about, but you don't know the history of it or how it works or where it came from or how or what new techniques are being used in this thing, then how can you say you're passionate about this thing? Is that if you're not wanting to dig into it and do the research and learn the things you need to learn about in the ins and outs of this thing you say you want to do, then I challenge that you're actually passionate about what you say you are.
Yeah. And that reminds me of the book that we had set ourselves like a reading list of things to go through this year.
Hmm.
And the E-Myth was the last book that we had looked at. And
Yeah.
it was actually perfect because it talked about exactly what you're saying, where do you want to be the entrepreneur, you want to be a manager, or do you want to just be like a contributor? Or I think it was
Mhm.
operator
Yeah.
was the third one. So
Hmm.
if you just love doing the work, then you're more of an operator. If
Yeah.
you want to like be the highest level of that thing, but you don't want to be the owner of the business, and you're more like a manager where you can help other operators kind of get their stuff together, do this the best way, like basically mentorship. But if you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to own a business where you have these type of operators operating, then that's three different mindsets that you have, and you have to
Hmm.
kind of think at the level of each one first before you decide to move in that thing, because you could end up having a brick and mortar somewhere or a digital business as an entrepreneur, but you understand that you actually, I think I just want to be at the operator level, or I just want
Yeah.
to be the highest version of this thing, which is just the manager.
Hmm.
And but you don't want to own a business that does that thing. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. That's called being an entrepreneur, which
Hmm.
is something that we talk about in the circle as well, or not the circle, but our community as well. Um, that difference between entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship, because both are very much needed. An entrepreneur can't do everything by themselves and expect to be as successful as they could be if they had a team. Like a good quote is, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go with a team.
Hmm.
If you want to make sure that you can be able to walk away from this thing, you got to be able to do it from a standpoint of, okay, I've brought people on who can maybe operate in my stead at some point, and then raise that person up to, the CEO level or the C-suite level, just the people who are able to like be the mastermind behind the whole thing.
Hmm.
But that still takes a lot of time even to develop that. Like we're
Yeah.
CEO, COO, but there's a lot of work that went into just understanding the role so that you can figure out what is it that I'm going to have to do for this long term,
Hmm.
but I have to operate as the people who I'm going to oversee
Yeah.
first and foremost.
Yeah. I mean, you and I had that conversation, about, okay, what do we want to do, and what do these roles require of us in the thing? It's like, and a lot of times, what are you best suited for?
Right,
Because a lot of people, we had the conversation. A lot of people want the CEO role just to say that they're a CEO. A CEO is just a fucking job.
right.
That's all it is. It's a job. It's a job. It's a job with a lot of responsibility. Honestly,
All the
is what
responsibility.
is what it is. Because if things don't work out, it's on you that it's not working out.
Right.
It's like some people say, "Oh, I'm CEO." It's like, yeah, but your business is burning to the ground. That's your fault.
Yeah.
Is like, if it succeeds, you played a hand in it. If it fails, it's all on you. Because
Yeah.
because people aren't gonna be like, oh, why this business fail? Oh, it was me. Yeah, I fucked up.
Right.
No, it's like
See,
people
Chief
don't want to
Executive
do that.
Officer of Ashes Incorporated.
Yeah, people don't want to do that shit. It's like, man, you completely failed. This business was horrible. Whose fault was it? It's like nobody wants to raise their hand when having those conversations. It's
Right.
like, or things aren't working out like they're supposed to. It's like, that's on me. It's like, it's not working out like it needs to be. That's
Yeah.
on me. I was supposed to be the one. I'll take the hit.
Right.
Nobody wants to take that shot. People want to be up there when it's time to get praise, but they
Right.
don't want to be up there when it's time to get, to put your head in the guillotine.
Right. Exactly. And it's again, you have to realize what role are you suited for, and you can
Hmm.
still be high up on the list as far
Hmm.
as like and that's kind of the thing, man. It's like everybody thinks you have to be an entrepreneur to make the most money. That's
Hmm.
not how it works. It's you figure out how you can be as of much use to a business overall, and then work your way up if you decide to. You can make a lot of money as just like an entry level person if
Hmm.
you're in the right industry. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? There's beginner level.
Microsoft,
Yeah.
like the number six guy in Microsoft made more money than most CEOs do in their entire life.
You know what I'm saying? Just get in where you fit in at the right spot, but you're gonna have to increase your skill set and your neededness is not a word, but you know what I mean? Like you're gonna have to increase your worth and your value to the company as much as possible in order to get to that level, because nobody's born in that number 6 spot or above. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like it's a lot of work. You can replace CEOs. CEOs
Yeah,
get replaced all the time.
yeah, they're
You know
not
what I mean?
performing. They're the first to
By
go.
the board. You know what I mean? So they're like,
Mhm.
okay, who's heading the ship? You ain't working out. We need a new captain. We need
It's
somebody
like a
else.
head coach. It's like a
You know
head
what I mean?
coach. Who? When was the last time you heard about like the the assistant defense coach getting fired?
Right.
When was the last time you heard that? But how many times do you hear about a head coach getting fired in the NFL?
Exactly. That's the NFL. You know what I'm saying? Like you obviously do something good enough to get to that level,
Yeah.
but can you stay there? And
Hmm.
that's kind of the thing too. Like what you have to do to build something and what you have to do to sustain it are not necessarily the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, it takes a lot more work to build the thing, but once it's off and running, okay, how do you maintain it? Like there was somebody I was listening to that said that they had to bring in a part-time CFO,
Hmm.
chief financial officer, to make sure that they were doing their books the right way, because
Yeah.
they were getting really really big, and but they couldn't figure out how to maintain it. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yep.
two different avenues, but that's why, again, if your skill set is worth it, you can be a part-time CFO to somebody, to multiple businesses,
Hmm.
where you're the differences between tens of thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars if you're doing it full time, but you're still making significant changes in a business as a freelancer. But you
Hmm.
have to have that skill set first. You don't have to build a whole nother business.
Yeah. So it all depends on what your like you said, what you being honest with yourself about what you're suited for. Like I said, you and I've had some real conversations that people have never heard about. Okay, what is our role going to be in this? What are we best suited for? Like I told you up front, and say, hey, bro, is like the financial piece of things is like, can I do it? Yes. Do I want to? Fuck no.
Right.
It's like
Right.
absolutely not. It's like that's probably been the biggest holdup with my other businesses and different things like that, is getting in those, having to do the financial piece of things. It's just not what I'm best suited for. Is like you put me in front of a computer and have to do spreadsheets and crunch numbers and do these different things like that. That is not it's just not what I'm built for.
Right.
Is like, but you tell me, it's like, hey, we want to grow this business from here to here. Is like, we need to figure out how to do that in the next 30 days. It's like, huh, cool, yeah, let's do that.
Right.
I don't flinch at moments like that. I'm like, cool, yeah, 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 yeah. I can do, yeah, let's do that all day.
Yeah.
It's like, let's go about that. Is like, something's not working. We need to fix it. Cool. Okay, what do we need to fix? Let's break this down. Let's really start tearing shit apart and figure out what's working and what's not working.
Right.
And not caring, and to be real about it, is like not caring about how we feel about the thing. Well, we took, 60 days to build this thing. Is, yeah, but it's not fucking working.
Right.
So it's done. So we're
Pivot. You got to be able to pivot.
it's
Right.
like non-emotionally. It's like just it's like cut it. It's like, wow, man, you just killed it. It's like, yeah, because it wasn't working.
Right. Yeah.
It's not working, and it's sucking up our energy. Let's put it into something else. Boom, boom. There we go.
And sometimes it's like, because I didn't want to do the finance piece either, but I
Mhm.
had enough exposure to understand how important it actually was and how you can actually find different avenues to be able to fund that thing, because everybody, so many businesses are built out of pocket that they end up going broke before the business even takes off in any type of meaningful way.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And then to go from, okay, it's my responsibility to make sure that this thing is running one way or another, whether it's monetarily, whatever. Okay, what do I got to do to find some money? Well, am I going to just pick up overtime? Well, I can't pick up overtime because I got to put time into this thing. How am I going to pay for it? You only
Mhm.
pay for it out of pocket until you don't have to do that anymore. Some
Yeah.
people take loans. Some people find grants. Some people ask, friends and family for money or whatever. But
Some
you have to
people find
find
sugar mamas,
some people
which
find sugar mamas.
just putting it out there. If any of you guys happen to know, a an attractive,
Oh well, now
um,
you're asking a lot because
hey, hey, so you got to be able to perform, bro. An
yeah,
attractive an older young lady, looking for a
older
gentleman
young
call,
lady.
looking for a gentleman caller,
What is
and
that?
is willing to fund
Right.
a very a business with a lot of potential. We'll say.
Right. Stop
You
bringing
know,
your side hustle
just
into our business
just
conversation.
just hit us in the DMs on Instagram. You know,
Terrible.
it's
But
like,
it's using what you got to get what you need, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So you got to be
did
able to.
you really just use a line from Players Club?
I mean, it may not be right, but it ain't wrong. Okay.
but it feels so wrong.
You know what I'm saying? But that's the thing. People just use whatever skills that they have to find
Yeah.
a way to fund their actual business. So but understanding that it doesn't have to be one or the other.
Hmm.
Like I can't tell you how many times I've kind of sat down and mapped it out where it's like, okay, if we can just find a grant that would help us take care of a couple little things, it frees up the money that I'm putting physically. Like I'm putting the money out of my own pocket. I
Yeah.
can put that somewhere else. I can put that in savings. I can put that in investments. I can do whatever. So it's like, okay, if you can find the ways that you can have your business paid for in another avenue, that's not going to come back to bite you later. That
Hmm.
frees up the actual money that you're making from your job into other stuff.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So that actually helps with the short term things because it doesn't take much. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing graphic designs for like posters and stuff, and that money is going into either a savings account or an investment account so that I can build up what's going to help me move things later. But you got to
Hmm.
be that strategic with everything with the actual business. Okay, who
Yep.
am I going to market to? What's the best time to market to them? Am I going to put some money behind the marketing? Is my project actually worth a damn? Or am I needing to go back and workshop it and make it better so that people actually buy it? There's so
Hmm.
many little things you have to do on a day-to-day basis or a week-to-week basis. Stop thinking about the end goal. In the grant community that I'm in now, where it's like teaching me how to go out and find those other sources of money. That's the one thing that the head facilitator said was, stop thinking that you have to make millions or hundreds of thousands of dollars. Maybe what if you can just get a bill paid? What if you can just pay your car off or get a couple months ahead in rent, or something that's going to make it not so hard to survive, so that you can actually figure out what your evolution looks like. So many people are stuck in survival mode. They can't even see past the next bill because they don't even know if they're going to make it. So why are you thinking about building a $1 million business or a six-figure business when you don't even have the resources to get you through tomorrow? Do the small things first, and then see if you have the will or the wherewithal to build something bigger, because it's going to take a lot more time.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's gonna take more time than you think it is. You and I have had this conversation. It's like it's gonna take more time than you expect. Just expect for it to take. It costs 10 times as much. It take 10 times as long, and you're going to put 10 times the amount of effort into it.
Yeah, but I feel like that's one of those, and like you said, it's kind of disconcerting, or you want them to understand the reality of the situation.
Hmm.
But again, if you're doing the little steps and kind of falling in love with the process first, it really doesn't even matter how much time it takes, because you'll look up and it's like, oh, I'm at the thing I was looking for. But you need to have that vision of it first and just let that be your motivator. Like, yeah, I understand it's going to take 10x whatever you think it is, but there are
Well, let's
little
put it this
things
way.
that
It
you
could take. It could take.
it
We'll say it
could.
that way.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
could
yeah,
take because
yeah,
it might not necessarily. You might come up on a lick or get a grant or different things
yeah.
like that. Find a way to speed things up, or
But you got to
just
look first.
go
It's
viral.
going to take. Yeah,
It's just about that reality of the situation. It's like, okay, because if you think it should be going faster, a lot of times, even having that viewpoint of the little things, a lot of people think it should be successful the first time.
mm-mm.
It's like the first time you put something out, first person you talk to should say yes, all these different things, and when they don't, that's an easy way of getting discouraged. So I
Right.
say that it could, just accept that it's going to take 10 times as long, 10 times the money, 10 times the effort, because it puts you in a mindset of like, okay, I already knew heading out knocking on this door that I was probably going to need to knock on 10 before I got any kind of positive answer.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, so it's like, so me knocking on this one is like, okay, I only got what, how many more do I need to get before I get the yes? It's like I'm willing to knock on
Yes.
this many doors
Yeah.
before I get that yes.
Yeah.
Is like, because a lot of people get into the thing where it's easy to fall into the mindset of it should be working right now.
Right. Yep.
You know?
And it's like getting reps up in the gym, man. Like you're
Yeah.
never you don't do one bicep curl and then you're Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like you got to do lots and lots of reps.
Unless
But
you're me. It's just a genetic specimen of a man.
Yeah, you're a specimen, all right.
I am.
But you,
I am.
but
Some
you,
kind of species. I don't know
right.
which one yet. Still trying to figure that out.
But it's if you don't expect that victory until you get to that 10th door knock, but then you get successes at 5 and 6 and 4, and then you miss a couple, and then you start to get like, okay, every door that I'm hitting, I get some type of get back, or I get some type of reward or sale from it. It's just like you're gonna surprise yourself, and then it's gonna propel you on further. I remember the one time that kind of going back to that Kirby example, the one time I actually sold something versus the time that I was like, I couldn't beg them to keep this thing. Like they loved the product, but they didn't want to pay the money for it. So I go through every little tactic in the book, and they just keep saying no. And then I have to like do a fake call with my manager to be like, you know, I said, hey, can we do this deal? Can we do this deal? I'll bring it all the way down to 10%. You just pay the 10% and it's yours. They kept saying no. And he said, remember this no, because either you're going to get a lot of them or you never want to feel that way again. So you have to get better. Versus the one time I did make a sale and I was like, Mazel tov, like perfect. Like somebody finally wants the thing that I'm trying to get rid of, you know what I mean? Or sell or bring value to the home. And that was a good feeling. Like the week later, they returned it. But that's but I remember that.
Welcome to business.
Welcome to, because that's the fucking thing, man. Like you could do all this work to sell something, and then they get buyer's remorse, or 30 days later, and they're like, "Nah, actually, I don't want it anymore." For whatever reason, maybe they can't afford the payments. Maybe it was an impulse buy, whatever. But you have to have the faith of that, like long term. Somebody needs / wants this thing. I might as well sell it before somebody else does. But understand that that sale is not final. That sale is not final, you know. So there's a lot of lessons in it, but I think it's worth it overall.
Yeah, man. It's you learn so much. You learn a lot about yourself getting into business or entrepreneurship or different things like that. Like, so you learn whether you're, and I've met plenty of people on my journey, guys and ladies, who are like, they say the thing that they want until, for instance, personal training. Just being a personal trainer. I've used to have guys come up to me in the gym and be like, "Hey, man, I want to be a personal trainer," and I'm like, "Okay." First question asked is why. Oh, well, I like working out and da 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 da, and I was like, you don't need to be a personal trainer.
Right.
You need to just go work out on your own. Go be an IG model.
Right.
It's like, they're like, why? It's like, because here's the thing: you as a personal trainer, you're getting into it because it's what you like. It's not about you. Once you get into this, the business side of things, once you're training somebody else or getting into business, it's not about you. It's about the person on the other side of that. It's about what they need. And they probably don't need the same thing that you're doing because she's a 65-year-old soccer mom. And so you're a 24-year-old 6'4" bodybuilder. You're not going to be on the same program. If you are, you're an idiot.
Right. You're gonna get hurt real quick.
It's like, and here's the thing. Here's the reality of it. You as a personal trainer, when you get to the peak success and have all the clients and making all the money, you're probably not even gonna have time to do your own workout.
Yeah.
So the thing you're getting into is saying that you love, you're not going to be doing. So real. This is the reality check. You don't need to be a personal trainer. Go be an IG model.
Right.
Go be a bodybuilder. Go do something like that. Go do that. Go sell protein.
Yeah.
Powder.
So for those who don't know, I guess the question is, why are we doing this? You know what I mean? Why did we decide to take so much time out of our regular day to try to bring value to people? Like, what would you say is our reason for doing Warriors Way Home or WWH Solutions or any of the little subsidiaries that we spend so much time on, to structure this thing so that it can be something that lasts?
To change the direction that men are going in this world. Warriors Way Home came out of a need. It didn't really, it was, I had conversations with a mentor of mine who was telling me for a while that she wasn't talking about this specifically. She said man camp is what she was originally saying. So you need to do a man camp because a lot of the clients I had and we're training the guys I was training, I was having these conversations with them. I was having conversations with them about their mindset, about relationships they were having and the struggles they were having in relationships. The masculinity thing was a big one. That, you know, it was very obvious that they didn't know what was required of a man in this world, because they were just trying to, and they were trying to figure it out. And some of these guys were in their 40s,
Mm-hmm.
and you could tell we're struggling with this thing of you know, their identity, their masculinity, and their relationships, and how to move as a man, how to move with confidence, and a lack of confidence, and what that meant in the rest of their life, in their career, and the choices they made, and the things they did, versus the things they actually really wanted to be doing,
Right.
that they were afraid to do. Having those conversations over and over and over again, and, you know, hearing them, you know, say, you know, you do a man camp, you need to do this thing. And you and I, you know, met up and started talking, and I was like, hey, bro, I got this idea of a thing I've been told, you know, just hearing where we were and how we, you know, kind of grew up, in the experiences we had, even though they were in some instances dramatically different. This is like, but just some of the similarities that were there, and how
Mm-hmm.
we struggle with some of the same things that these guys struggled with, and we're struggling with now. But we managed to figure a lot of these pieces out over time, through self improvement, through self
Mm-hmm.
mastery, through martial arts, through these different things like that, because we had these different experiences than these guys have had. So we were able to change our lives, and, you know, not be having these same struggles that a lot of these guys were having, that I was meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, just seeing the need there, man, and realizing that this has got to be a conversation that doesn't need to be had in an office with the door closed.
Right.
Is like, this is one of those conversations that we need to be out there having conversations with guys, and because there are guys struggling in their lives to become the men they say they want to be, but don't really know how to go about that.
Right. Notice how none of that was about money. None of that was about.
And then all the money, all the money.
It wasn't about the money. It wasn't about I just want to run my mouth. It wasn't about look at me, I'm doing this thing. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? And like you said, just having one of those conversations with one of those guys in a closed door. If you just happen to have a camera and he was cool with talking about that type of stuff, how
Mhm.
much other people, how many other men could that have helped
Yeah.
if they just heard the conversation? They didn't even have to talk about their own stuff, or
Mhm.
somebody kicked my dog when I was 6, or I got, whatever the trauma is,
Yeah.
but they still needed the same result. That's the
Mhm.
thing that you have to do it for. It has to be some type of passion, or feel like a calling. What is that movie? Man, sorry, with the chick that's like, I volunteer as tribute type of thing.
Oh,
Uh,
Hunger Games.
Hunger Games. There has to be some type of desire in you to want to help that particular issue.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? You have to be passionate about the result that you can get. And just like those books like Think and Grow Rich, or well, I guess that's the perfect example, or like Acre of Diamonds, I think it is. I can't remember the name of the I can't remember the name of the author, but basically it
Mhm.
might be the same author. Having skills that are just valuable to somebody
Mhm.
on the other end means that you will be taken care of by something, karma, God, whatever you want to call it. There's definitely a get back, but you can't get it from that standpoint. If you're just doing
Yeah.
it for the money, you're in the wrong business. You can
Mhm.
start a good business, and just make a whole bunch of money, and still feel like it's a job.
Yeah.
People could be making what we talked to Will, one of our first interviews that we've ever done. He said he was already making 6 figures in finance and then left
Mhm.
because he wasn't feeling it. It
Yeah.
wasn't in his spirit anymore. So you don't have to start your own business to make a whole bunch of money. Just find a job that you'll probably end up hating in 5 years or 10 years or whatever, or the first day, and then
Yeah.
just keep doing that. But if
Yeah.
you want to make an impact, if you want to
Mhm.
be of value of value from your own ideas, from your own mind, from your own strength or willpower or whatever you want to call it, if you want to do it that way, then maybe you should start your own business. But
Mhm.
just understand it's going to take a lot of work for a maybe.
Yeah.
It's never an emphatic yes unless you that good. You know what I mean? Or
Mhm.
because people, one thing I thought about too, you know how many programs I've bought or things that I've bought and then never used?
Yeah. Yep.
You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
you could be signing up for something that 30 days from now or tomorrow you can not even want or not even think about again. It was an
Mm-hmm.
impulse buy.
Forgot you bought it.
Forgot you bought it.
Yep. Oh, shout out to Jay. What's up, Jay? Thanks for the support.
What up?
Appreciate it.
Yeah. But you just got to realize, like, what are you doing it for? If putting out your product makes you feel good because you know it will be helpful to somebody,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of enough. For me, it's enough.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it for the six figures that I know we're gonna get at some point. But it's you can't start there. You can have faith
Mm-hmm.
in it, but starting there is a bad look, personally.
Yeah. It's get the biggest thing with getting into business is there has to be something that drives you for it. Um, and yes, money we don't get into we don't get into business to be broke. Don't get
No,
it twisted. We plan on making a lot of fucking money. It's like, do not get it twisted, because if we did this for the next 20 years and didn't make a penny of it, will we be satisfied? Yes. Will we be probably arguing a bit more that we've been pouring money in this thing for 20 years and
right.
didn't get anything out of it? Yeah, there'd probably be some conversations there that would be like, hey, bro, why the fuck are we doing this? Still putting money in this. Let's just do it. Let's just stick with the
Yeah,
YouTube channel and just do it that way. Um, yes. So, the money is going to be a side effect of our success with this.
right,
But there has to be something in you that drives you when you start a business and when you get into these different things like that, that drives you to get started into the thing.
right,
So something that you're passionate about, identifying a problem that you feel like you can solve. And a lot of cases, that's the driver that most people get into business for.
right.
And just getting into stuff for the right reasons, man. Because I tell people all the time, it's like, if it was about the money, I wouldn't have done half the stuff I would have done. I would have been, a lawyer or an actor or a drug kingpin. I would,
Those are definitely all about the money.
I would, I wouldn't have got into personal training and massage, and then doing words with home. I wouldn't have did this. It's like I
Right.
would, I'd still be stripping if it was just about the money.
You've mentioned that a few times, and you never really say I'm joking. So I think Travis was a stripper in his past life or something. He was using what he got to get what he want. But
I plead the
make
fifth.
that money. Don't let the money make
I
you.
I plead the fifth. No
But
comment.
yeah, man. And one thing that's cool is that once you learn how to build your business and it becomes successful, you can teach other people how to use that, how to build that business on the back end. Like when I found out how we could make grants and or not make them, but apply for grants and stuff, that became a whole other skill set that if I wanted to, I could monetize. So sometimes just making the effort to be something more than what you are will give you enough skill set to go help make other money.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like nobody said you had to be perfect, but if you just know a bit more than the guy behind you, you can be of help to him and you might get some type of return from it.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? But you can't start out thinking that it's just going to be all about the money because it's not how it works.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just give yourself time, man. It's like if you decide to get on this journey and hop on this roller coaster we call entrepreneurship and business, it's like, just know that, hey man, just give yourself time. Give yourself time, give yourself space, and be able to pivot, because things are not gonna be perfect.
Right.
So being able to pivot and being able to change the direction when you need to, what's it they say, make up your mind slowly, change your mind quickly.
Right. Right.
You know, it's like, so you do the work, yeah, you make up your mind slowly, you do the research, you do all those things like that. But when you figure out something's not working and that the wing on the plane's on fire, put out the fucking fire, do something
Right.
else.
Right.
It's just like you figure out you're going the
Anything.
wrong direction, turn around, go the direction you need to go. So it's
Right.
like being able to pivot, man. That's a
Right.
huge one.
And
So yeah,
also,
guys.
oh,
Mhm.
sorry. Go ahead. No, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so guys, this has been we've been on for a hot minute. We definitely appreciate you guys watching, man. We're definitely gonna get into more conversations about entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship as well. Is definitely going to be a topic, because there's a lot of guys out there who don't realize they're in business, even though they're in business.
Right.
Because that made total sense what I just said. I know that was smooth. I know. It's just, but a lot of guys don't realize the opportunities they have, attaching their vision, their goal to somebody else's dream sometimes.
Yeah.
Because like I
Yeah.
said, this isn't built for everybody. Sometimes it's attaching yourself to somebody else's stuff, and helping them build the thing that they want to build, and you reap the rewards from that as well. So there's a lot of ways and a lot of different paths to success in this life. It just depends on what works for you and what's going to be best for you. is the
Right.
biggest thing.
Absolutely. And just
Mhm.
understanding that you still have that intrinsic value no matter what you decide to do with it. Whether you're
Mhm.
helping an already existing business or you're trying to do something for yourself, you know, understand
Mhm.
that helping people should be that end goal.
Yep.
Not the money, not the flash, not the whatever you think you can buy with that, because you're going to run yourself into the ground for something that is going to be fleeting. It's going to lose value over time regardless.
Mhm.
And it's more about that fulfillment, that self-fulfillment. But if you join the Legion community, our paid community, we have a lot of books that talk about that stuff too. We have more insight that we can bring to you. We try to curate things that'll be able to help you in all aspects of things.
Mhm.
Whether it's, we have the pillars of combat, self mastery, masculinity, and entrepreneurship. So every pillar is going to have these different resources, but in the same format that
Yep.
will help you and kind of make it easy to digest these things. And you just take what you need. If
Mhm.
you just happen to find the right book at the right time that we are able to provide to you, great. If you have more questions about how do I get started, we can help out with that too. But
Yeah.
there's just so much that, like, there's so much information that people, if they just took the time to dig into it a
Mhm.
little bit, they would understand more about themselves and understand, like, what is it that they really want out of life.
Mhm.
Do you want to have a business, or do you want to be financially secure? Because
Yep.
there's different routes for both. Do you want
Mhm.
to learn how to fight, or you just want to be able to defend yourself? Because there's two different avenues. Do you want to be able to, you know, make it just to next week on what you got, or do you want to be able to actually evolve and thrive as an
Mhm.
individual?
Yeah. And to have a community of like-minded guys who are all on that same path to mastery,
Hmm.
because we call it, the Legion, men of mastery. Every guy in this group are on that pathway to figuring out what mastery looks like for themselves. And along the way, having a brotherhood of guys who are, finding their way in business or finding their way through their career or just starting careers or been in, their career for decades and can show you the ins and outs of different things like that. There's so many opportunities to not only, network, but to have that brotherhood, that bond develop with like-minded guys who are on a similar path as you
Hmm.
in that community. And
Absolutely.
like I said, having access to all the resources that we have as well, including probably parts of the 800 Gates. We'll be dropping pieces in there as well, talking about the foundation, how to set yourself a good foundation to not only build, but rebuild your kingdom and become that 2.0 version of yourself in a lot of
Right.
ways. So,
Absolutely.
definitely check out the links below. The 800 Gates link should be down in the description. Also, the link for the Legion, and subscribe to the channel, man, because we're gonna be having conversations like this. We go live twice a month. I believe it's the second and the fourth Friday of
Hmm.
every month we go live, and we'll be having lots of deep conversations like this, man, and chance to ask questions, answer questions, these different things like that. So things to move us forward and keep us growing, to become the best men that we can be, and to keep fighting our fight. Because at the end of the day, man, we want to. It's better to be a warrior in a garden.
In a garden and a war. Check you guys next
Take it
time.
easy, guys.
Peace. Do, do, do.